Theodore Robert Bundy was an American serial killer, rapist, kidnapper, and necrophile who operated during the 1970s. His victims were young women and girls, and the exact number of his victims remains unknown. Theodore Robert Cowell was born on November 24, 1946, in Burlington, Vermont, at a home for unwed mothers. His mother, Eleanor Louise Cowell, came from a respected and affluent family. The identity of Bundy's father was never definitively established. His birth certificate listed Lloyd Marshall as his father, but Louise later claimed she had been seduced by a sailor named Jack Worthington. Some family members suspected that Louise's father might be the true father, but no credible evidence supports this theory. Accounts of Bundy's childhood behavior vary. According to Michaud and Ainsworth, he roamed the neighborhood searching through garbage bins for pictures of naked women. Polly Nelson noted that he claimed to have read detective magazines and novels, as well as watched crime documentaries with violent scenes, particularly those featuring dead or mutilated bodies. However, in a letter to Rule, he denied these claims. Michaud described Bundy as drinking heavily and wandering the neighborhood looking for uncurtained windows to catch glimpses of undressing women. Nonetheless, classmates remembered him as well-liked in school. In 1972, Bundy graduated from the University of Washington with a degree in psychology. During his studies, he was an excellent student and a faculty favorite. It is unclear when and where Bundy began killing. He provided different stories to different people and refused to share details about his early murders, although he disclosed information about his later crimes shortly before his execution. To his attorney Polly Nelson, Bundy stated that he first attempted to abduct someone in 1969 in Ocean City, New Jersey, but claimed not to have killed anyone until around 1971 in Seattle. To psychologist Art Norman, he admitted to killing 2 women in Atlantic City in 1969. Some believe that Bundy first abducted and killed Anne-Marie Burr in Tacoma in 1961 when he was nearly 15 years old. However, Bundy repeatedly denied involvement in this case. His first confirmed murder was committed in 1974 at the age of 27. On January 4, 1974, Bundy broke into the basement room of 18-year-old Karen Sparks, a dancer and student at the University of Washington. He struck her on the head with a metal rod from her bed frame and sexually assaulted her with the rod. Sparks suffered severe internal injuries and irreversible brain damage but survived, regaining consciousness 10 days later. However, she remembered nothing of the attack. Less than a month later, on the night of January 31 to February 1, Bundy entered a house 2 blocks away from Sparks' residence. He abducted Linda N. Healy, a psychology student and radio weather presenter. He gagged her, bound her, and beat her, causing severe bleeding. He carried her away, taking her backpack, jeans, white blouse, boots, and other belongings. Her roommates, despite the thin walls, heard nothing and assumed she had left for work. Her room appeared tidy, and her bed was neatly made, giving the impression she had disappeared without a trace. Female students continued disappearing approximately once a month. On March 12, 19-year-old Donna Gail Manson vanished on her way to a jazz concert. On April 17, Susan Elaine Rancourt disappeared after a college library meeting in Ellensburg, about 120 kilometers from Seattle. Witnesses described a man with an arm in a sling near the library asking for help loading books into his Volkswagen Beetle. On May 6, Roberta Kathleen Parks, a 20-year-old student of art and world religion at Oregon State University, went missing after leaving her dormitory for a nighttime walk. Later, Bundy revealed that he approached her in a campus bar, struck up a conversation, and lured her into his car under the pretense of going to a restaurant, where he ultimately abducted and killed her. On June 1, Brenda Carol Ball, 22, disappeared after leaving the Flame Tavern in Burien, Washington. Witnesses last saw her speaking with a man with his arm in a sling outside the tavern. On June 11, 18-year-old University of Washington student George N. Hawkins mysteriously disappeared while walking a short distance between dormitories. Witnesses described a man on crutches with a cast on his leg, seen struggling with a suitcase near the area. At the time, Bundy was working at the Washington State Department of Emergency Services, where he met and began dating Carolyn Boone, a twice-divorced mother of two. Boone would later become his wife. The disappearances of 6 women and the assault on Sparks received extensive media coverage in Washington and Oregon. Fear spread among the population, and law enforcement faced immense pressure to solve the cases. However, the lack of physical evidence made the investigation challenging. Police withheld details from the media to avoid jeopardizing the case. Some similarities among the victims were noted: all disappeared at night, often near construction sites and shortly before exams, all were wearing pants or jeans, and most were last seen with a man who had a cast or sling and drove a Volkswagen Beetle. The crimes escalated on July 14, when 2 women were abducted in broad daylight from Lake Sammamish State Park, near Issaquah, 32 kilometers from Seattle. 5 witnesses described the perpetrator as a handsome man in a white tennis outfit, with his arm in a sling, speaking with a slight British or Canadian accent. He introduced himself as Ted and asked women to help him load a sailboat onto his car. One woman, Mary Asmer, accompanied him to his car but fled when she saw no sailboat and became suspicious. Later that day, Janice Ott, a 23-year-old probation caseworker, was seen leaving the beach with Bundy. Witnesses overheard him asking her to help retrieve a sailboat from his parents' house nearby. Hours later, Denise Naslund, an 18-year-old, vanished after leaving her friends to use the restroom. Bundy later confessed to raping and murdering both women, claiming to have killed one in front of the other. However, shortly before his execution, he recanted parts of this confession. In September, hunters found skeletal remains of Ott and Naslund in dense woods near Lake Sammamish. Additional remains were identified as belonging to George N. Hawkins. In March 1975, the remains of Healy, Rancourt, Parks, and Ball were discovered on Taylor Mountain, east of Issaquah. Donna Gail Manson's body was never found.